Now, I want to say something. When someone says this is a terrible idea for so many reasons, okay, and then they give like one reason, I guess they give two, but this is kind of like the same reason. This is like a qualifier for this first reason. They really only have one reason. They really only have one reason. They said this so that they sound like they have more things, but they don't. They really don't. Otherwise, they would have said them, right? Why would they not say them here? So, Kotaku, this is lazy. Yo, what's up? So, have you ever played a game and been wishing that you could just kick someone out of that game? Just boom, kick them out. They're on your team, they're on the enemy team, whatever. You just want to remove them from the game? Well, Sony has a patent that would allow viewers of streams to do something very similar. And I have a Kotaku article that we're going to go over talking about it, but it makes me wonder, is this something that is good or bad for gaming or entertainment in general? And I think we can answer that throughout this article, but let's go ahead and just read about it first before we start talking about those things. So, Sony patent lets viewers vote and pay to boot players from games. In 2020, Sony filed a patent for allowing live stream spectators and participants to remove players from a game. Yesterday, the United States Patent and Trademark Office approved the patent, which you can read in full here. Besides removing unskilled players, the system would allow spectators to pay for the privilege of removing players. Now, there are games that have integration into streams already. The one that comes to mind for me is Hyperscape, where spectators could vote, or I don't know if they could pay, but they basically could influence what things spawned in the game. I thought that was really interesting. I thought that was really cool, but this is a little bit different because it says not only spectators but participants. And I don't know if that's really a good thing. Now, of course, if you have a game like Fall Guys, let's say you have a game like Fall Guys, okay? And you allow spectators of the game, if you have like a full streaming roster, like a roster full of streamers, and you let spectators kind of pay the streamers to remove them from the game, I think that's okay. But if they're paying Sony to remove people from the game, that's weird. I don't That's really weird. I don't know why that would even be like a thought in Sony's mind here. But let's keep reading. Twitch is the most popular streaming platform in the world, and competitive esports is immensely popular. Considering that Sony filled an online tournament patent this year and bought Evo, the world's largest fighting game competition, it's clear that PlayStation Maker is taking competitive gaming more seriously than it did in the past. An approved patent doesn't mean that Sony is necessarily developing a benching system right now. It just gives the company exclusivity if it ever decides to implement one in the future. Now, I don't know, I'm not like a lawyer, but as far as I understand patent law, it doesn't necessarily give them exclusivity for this, just however their exact implementation is makes it exclusive, right? So if people use different technology or like a different method of doing it, it's still allowed, but like the patent law protects the method in which they do this. So a little bit different, but regardless, I don't know how this really relates to esports. I like the point of esports is for them to be fair and competitive, and if you can pay money to remove someone from a game, that's not fair or competitive. It's entertaining and it can be funny, but all people involved have to kind of consent to that, I think. Otherwise, it's not really competitive or fair. It's just weird, right? That's why I said if you had a full roster of like Fall Guys players and they're streamers and you could pay the streamer to remove them from the game, like that'd be kind of funny, right? Like, but because the streamer is obviously going to be okay with it, they get paid. They obviously opted in, but like this is like really weird. Like I don't understand what the point of this is. In the patent document, Sony outlined a system in which spectators to a live stream can vote to remove a player from an ongoing game. The player would have no veto power over this decision, and they may be reassigned to a different match. The system would display the skill level of the current players and their statistics for the game, such as time played, ratings, and achievements. All of this would take place through the cloud gaming system, whatever that means. Okay, I don't know what they mean, whatever that means. It's not that hard to understand what the cloud gaming system means. However, Sony connects people to their game. So this could be like their servers, which they use to connect people through like their own like people's PlayStations at home or their computers at home to play games. I guess for Sony it would just be PlayStations, right? But also Sony has other things like they allow you to basically like connect into this basically a PS4 and then play games through that. And that's cloud computing. So cloud computing isn't really it's not that crazy of a thing. It's basically just like you have like a ton of servers that live either with Sony or in some like cloud provider like Amazon has AWS, Google has GCP, stuff like that. So they basically just run all these massive servers that do a lot of the computing and stuff for you. So if you're in a cloud gaming system, that could refer to a lot of different things. It could be just like I said, it could be their servers that they're using to connect players on the PlayStations, or it could be that thing where people can actually like VPN into like a PlayStation without having a PlayStation and then like play PlayStation games like that. So I don't know. They could have just Googled this, honestly. To avoid audience abuse of the system, a 60% voting threshold needs to be met in order to bench a player from a game. Spectators with a higher skill level will also have their votes counted more heavily in the election. Despite Sony claiming that this system would be beneficial for removing disrespectful griefers from matches, the patent also includes the ability for spectators to pay a fixed price or bid for the ability to remove players from a game. The text also mentions a system in which spectators can warn active players to improve their gameplay. Damn. Yeah, again, like obviously if people aren't consenting to being part of this, like being able to be kicked out or like voted out, it's a really weird thing to have. If people are consenting to being allowed to be kicked out, I think it's funny. That's how I view. Like if there's a game and it's like not that serious, even if it is serious, I guess, and you acknowledge fully that there's a chance that you will be removed from the game when you play it, then as long as you're fully aware of that possibility, I don't know like what the problem here is. Even if like it could even be something that you queue into, right? You queue into a version where you can be kicked out, or you queue into a version where you can't be kicked out. Like I think that's completely fine as well. And I think that the problem that could be raised here though is that like if you have a really big streamer and they have like fans who want to kick out other people who are better than their streamer or whatever, like that could get really annoying, I guess, but we're getting like really kind of into the details here, and I don't really know exactly how this is going to play out, and there hasn't been really enough talked about this yet, so we're gonna have to see what happens. But yeah, it's a little weird. And so they think it's a terrible idea. I don't know if it's always a terrible idea. I already said I think that there are instances where it's probably okay, but there are instances where it's bad. So let's see what they say. This is a terrible idea for so many reasons. Okay. One of which is that having this much power might entice someone to use it poorly. Okay. I mean, that's true for literally anything. Like, I don't know what that means. Women already face immense barriers in esports, including gender bias about whether or not women are skilled enough to participate in competitive gaming. And the primary inspiration behind these tools traces back to Twitch. According to the opening paragraph of the patent, except racist Twitch trolls have been organizing hate raids against marginalized streamers lately, all by using platform approved tools. It's very likely that a similar coordinated effort could undermine the integrity of a benching vote within Sony's proposed system. Now, of course, that's true. Now, I want to say something. When someone says this is a terrible idea for so many reasons, okay, and then they give like one reason, I guess they give two, but this is kind of like the same reason. This is like a qualifier for this first reason. They really only have one reason. They really only have one reason. They said this so that they sound like they have more things, but they don't. They really don't. Otherwise, they would have said them, right? Why would they not say them here? So, Kotaku, this is lazy, but it doesn't matter. So, let me address this, right? So this could be true for anything, right? Even in games where you can vote to kick a player, if you're like in World of Warcraft, if you're in a dungeon, you can as a group vote to kick a player. And of course that gets abused sometimes, but it's not really that abused, and it's there for when people are actually griefing. Now, allowing other people to pay for the privilege to do that, that gets a little weird because then you just pay and then kick them from the group. Even if you have enough money, it's fine. Like that's weird. You're not really making this like any kind of democracy other than the vote from Twitch chat, I guess, which again, that's more fine, except for the fact where you have to like pay to do it. Like I think that's really weird, and I think it's also weird that different levels of skill have different voting like power, which kind of makes sense. You think that people who play the game more would have better knowledge of the game and therefore would know who to vote out more, but that doesn't always work out, right? Like you could have somebody who's really good at the game and they don't want to play against someone who's better, so that they vote against the other person who's better, whereas someone who doesn't really know much about the game wouldn't really vote that way. So of course there's issues there, but this is actually a real problem, like gender biases online and like race bias and stuff like that. Of course that's a real problem, and these hate raids are a real thing. People have had like they've done like the no stream days or whatever. um, and we can talk about how effective those things are, or how ineffective, whatever you want to say. It doesn't really matter. The point is that these things do happen, and of course they're like allowing raids, or not allowing, but having raids happen on them could obviously kick them from a group. That's why I think if the streamer gets a portion of the paid money from like the viewers doing this, like that's fine. Like if I was streaming and people came into my chat and they voted to kick me and they paid money to do so, and I got part of that money, I don't know how mad I'd really be, to be honest. You'd just be making money off people who hate you, which I think is fine. And again, that's why I think this needs to be like an opt-in system. You need to opt into like a match that allows for this. As long as you opt into it, as long as you're fully consenting to it, I don't think this is actually a problem at all. I don't think so. Though Sony claims that the patent represented something hailing from a line of inventions that enhance functionality and interactivity from players, the specifics of said patent are troubling. Okay, you give one reason. Also, it literally does enhance the functionality and interactivity of players. The problem here is that this person who wrote this doesn't like how it's being implemented, right? They don't like the power that it's giving uh, players and viewers. So, for all its emphasis on fairness and prioritizing skill level, obviously it's not fair if you just pay to do it. That's a stupid statement. If Sony says that this is a fair system, that they're an idiot. It's absurd to patent a system where spectators can pay to remove players from the game. I don't think it's absurd to patent it. I think, again, it can be funny in some instances, but yeah, it can present problems. That's not about making competitive esports a better ecosystem. I don't know if it actually was about esports. They said that that Sony's like ramping up their esports like purchasing or whatever, but I don't know if this specific thing was for esports. Although you can make the argument that because they're favoring higher skilled players for this, that it might be. I don't really know if that's what this reason was, right? That's just trying to funnel more money into Sony's pockets. Of course, that's what companies do. I talk about this a lot in my videos, but anytime a company does something, it doesn't make sense to ever like think of it from any other point of view. Anything a company does ever is to make it more money. Of course, obviously, like why would it not be? That's how companies operate. So I don't know why this is surprising. Sony doesn't have to implement the system outlined in the patent, and I'm hoping they don't. I hope that they do. I just hope that they implement it in the way I mentioned before, where it's fully opt in. The patent merely ensures that companies' competitors can't implement similar systems. That's not true. They can implement similar things as long as the methods and implementation isn't the same. They can still do it. And we have no idea about whether or not the inventions in this patent are currently in development. They probably are. Why? Like, if they got a patent for it, they're going to develop it. Like who wrote this? Nevertheless, it can provide us with insight into Sony's ideas for monetizing competitive gaming. Yeah, and I think it's fine. If you don't like it, don't play the game. Don't pay for the game. Don't pay to kick people. It's like that easy, honestly. I could see problems where this comes in, and I could see good things where this happens, right? Like, so I think that this person went way too like this is bad and didn't really think too hard about it, because I could think of a lot of reasons why this might be good or maybe entertaining. Maybe not good from a competitive sense. I don't think it's ever going to be good from a competitive sense, but from like a spectator sense and from like having fun and just playing the game and just doing random stuff, I think it makes sense. Um, and if you disagree with me, yeah, leave a comment down below. Maybe you have like some insight into this that I missed, and then you can call me an idiot, like I called this person an idiot. And you can leave a comment down below about like what I did wrong, and I'll respond to that. I'll read that. I'll take it into consideration. But honestly, I do want to know what all of you think about this. Like, is this a good move for Sony? Do you think that there's anything good or bad about this? Let me know, because I'm interested in other people's opinions, not just my own. And I actually think that this could work. I think it could work, and I think it could be fine. And I think there is a world where they do this, they implement this, and it just creates a really funny meta on Twitch for like a month or two, and then it dies, right? Or like that's how I view this. That's kind of what I'm thinking here. I don't think it's going to get too out of hand, and I don't think it's going to get really weird or crazy like this person seems to think. This person thinks that like everybody's just going to start like mass uh kicking out women and people of other races, which, you know, might happen. Not saying it couldn't happen because Twitch has a lot of problems, but I think that there is an implementation that Sony could do to alleviate a lot of these problems that this person seems to think that exist. And I hope that Sony goes for that. And I hope, or if Sony doesn't go for that, I hope Twitch does something similar where they're like, hey, if you want to use this on our platform, you got to pay the streamer some money as well. And I think that would be good. And that's pretty much it. So, yeah, if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe to the channel. I'd love to go over Kotaku videos because half the people there are brain dead. So, you just get to shit on them all day. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.